You ask a question, and instead of an answer, you get, "Sorry, I can't help with that." Sometimes that makes sense. Sometimes it feels weirdly overcautious. So why does AI refuse things at all? And who exactly decided what it's allowed to say? Start with a surprising fact. The underlying model, trained on huge amounts of internet text, has no built-in sense of, should I answer this? On its own, it would happily continue almost any prompt, helpful or harmful, because it's just predicting text. The refusals you see are not the model's natural state. They're a layer that was deliberately added on top. How is that layer added? Mostly through fine-tuning and human feedback. People show the model examples of what to do and what to decline, and rate its answers, rewarding helpful, safe responses and penalizing harmful ones. Over many rounds, it learns a behavior. In these kinds of situations, don't comply, explain instead. It isn't reading a rule book in the moment. It learned a pattern for when to say no. But learned against what standard? Behind the model is a written policy, a set of rules the company defines, describing what the system should not help with. Think serious harm categories, things that could get people hurt, exploited, or seriously endangered. The model is trained to follow that policy. And often, there's a second safety system, a separate checker that scans inputs and outputs and can step in independently of the model itself. So what actually triggers a refusal? A few broad buckets. Content that could cause real physical harm. Illegal activity. Things that violate someone's privacy or safety. And sensitive, high-stakes areas like medical or legal questions, where it hedges instead of giving firm advice. The line isn't topics that feel uncomfortable. It's closer to outputs that could realistically lead to serious harm. Now the real question, who decided all this? Not the model, and not really the AI. People did. Policy and safety teams at the company that built it, shaped by laws, safety research, public expectations, and sometimes regulators. That's also why different AI tools refuse different things. There's no single global rulebook. Each company draws its own lines, and those lines reflect choices and values, not a law of nature. And it's far from perfect in both directions. Sometimes it over-refuses. It blocks a completely harmless request because it pattern matches to something risky, a history question that sounds dangerous, or honest curiosity about a medical issue. Other times, it under-refuses. Someone finds a clever wording, a jailbreak, that slips past the trained behavior. Because this is learned probabilistic behavior and not a perfect switch, both kinds of mistakes happen. Here's the part that's easy to miss. Where to draw the line isn't a math problem with one correct answer. It's a judgment call, constantly balancing being helpful against avoiding harm. Push it toward always answer, and it becomes dangerous. Push it toward refuse anything risky sounding, and it becomes useless. Reasonable people disagree about the balance, and the lines genuinely shift over time, by region, and by context. As a user, a few things help. If a refusal seems wrong, add context and state your legitimate intent clearly. That often unlocks a sensible, safe answer. Ask for the safe version of what you actually need. Use the feedback buttons. That's part of how these lines get adjusted over time. And remember, it isn't personal, and some refusals are genuinely the system working as intended. The goal isn't to trick it, it's to be understood. So, AI refusals are a deliberate safety layer, trained on top of a model that would otherwise say almost anything. Guided by human-written policy, decided by people, not the machine, and inevitably imperfect, because it's a values trade-off, not a clean rule. Understand that, and the "I can't help with that" moments stop being mysterious. If this made things clearer, subscribe. The series keeps going, one AI idea at a time.